All right, we're back. College football Pick'em Pod, week 3, and after our horrible week 1, we are back and we crushed it. So at this point, if you're not following our picks, you're just kind of dumb. Joe, let's just get right into it. They know you. I was gonna just introduce you again, but I think at this point, we don't have a huge audience. You know us if you're watching us. We got Pitt. They're 3-2. And they're facing number 13 Miami, who is 3-1. Joe, what you like in this one?
I still like Miami in this game. I just think Pitt's so devoid of talent. Quarterback play is obviously going to have a giant edge with Miami. They weren't talented enough last week, but they're talented enough to beat the living hell out of Pitt.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if Miami's able to move the ball like those first couple drives. It's going to be a long game for Pitt. But if Pitt's like slowing them down, they could keep it kind of close.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because Pitt's offense isn't going to really blow anyone away. It doesn't matter who. But I don't think Miami's defense is that great anyways. So I think they can put up a few points. If their defense shows up, keep it close. I don't see that happening. I see D'Eriq King. Big bounce back game after he got crushed 100 times over against Clemson. So yeah, I'm liking Miami minus 13 and over 48 because that's just a low number, and I think Miami's going to put up points.
Yeah, I have the same picks, and I can't for the life of me understand what their offensive game plan was last week.
No.
I didn't understand it.
Their game plan was D'Eriq King catch the ball and then get sacked.
Yeah, I mean, and his completion percentage when he was kept clean was terrible.
Yeah. He looked so scared.
Yeah, there were problems all the way up and down.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next up we got Kentucky 1-2 versus number 18 Tennessee. Tennessee is 6.5-point favorites, over under 46. I love Tennessee in this one.
Yeah, I think they win. I think they cover. I wouldn't go anywhere near that over under.
I think despite Tennessee falling apart in the second half, I don't think they're that bad.
I mean, Garantano needs to graduate very quickly. He has the JT Barrett syndrome where it feels like he's been there for 50 years.
Isn't he only a junior?
I don't remember.
He's young still. I think he
was in that Shea Patterson class.
Really?
Yeah.
He's that old. I thought he was kind of younger. Mm-hmm. But I think they have enough talent, and Kentucky, I don't think, can score the ball. So I don't like the spread in that one. But I'm going Tennessee minus 6.5.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm not doing the over or anything. I wouldn't go near that one.
All right. Next, we got Louisville. They're 1-3. They've just had a horrible, tough schedule, at least. So their 1-3 record doesn't look as bad as. I think they're better than their record, but they're not.
Believe me, they're no good.
And then number 4 Notre Dame, who's 3-0, who's also not that good.
They're not, but they'll put it on Louisville.
You think?
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame wins close, low scoring. I mean, 62.5 seems ridiculously high, right?
Well, here's the thing. Ian Book is dreadful, but Louisville's secondary is one of the worst in the country. And these are the sort of games, JT Barrett against Nebraska and stuff like that, where he'll be able to play well and they'll be able to run the ball. And I think that they're able to score enough points to, put them over the top on the spread. Over-under wise, I'd probably take the under just because Louisville's not going to score very much and Notre Dame's not going to put up 60.
Yeah, I'm going Notre Dame straight up. I'm going to just stay away from the money line or game line, whatever. And under 62.5 feels pretty solid. I don't hate that pick. Next up, this is actually my favorite game of the week. That's not a big name game. We got UCF, who's 2-1, and Memphis, who is 1-1. This is a huge game for the AAC. This kind of decides who can hang with the rest of basically Cincinnati.
Pretty much.
Who do you like in this one?
Taking Memphis again. think their offense is going to be a difference maker. Obviously taking the points, and I'm taking the under, actually.
My thing is, I don't think UCF is as good as they usually are. And I think Memphis is about as good as last year. So I think I like Memphis plus 2.5. And I think after their disappointment against SMU in points wise, I'm going with that over again, that ridiculously high 70, 75 over under. So I'm definitely taking that. Anything else for that one?
No.
All right, then we'll move on to one of these games that I just put on the ticket because I think it's going to be a pretty fun one because both teams are 1-2. Ole Miss at Arkansas. I don't think either team's as bad as they usually are. You're muted. Yeah, there you go.
It's because Nolan's knocking on the door.
Got it. Well, I like Arkansas a lot in this one. I think Ole Miss, they threw all their cards on the table against Bama and looked pretty darn good for most of that game offensively, not defensively. Pitiful defensively. So I'm going Arkansas plus 1.5. I think they're going to just pound the rock, keep it slow. This game goes way under 76.5. And I think Felipe Franks gets the Razorbacks back to 2-2.
I'm still taking Ole Miss because I don't care about the cards that they threw at Bama. They also laid out the foundation to beat Alabama. But again, I think their defense is going to be terrible, but I think Arkansas's defense is terrible too. I like Matt Corral more than Felipe Franks.
I agree.
I like them being able to get the ball onto the to the tight ends more for Ole Miss. That entire game for Ole Miss is played in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Very few balls were going outside the hashes, and that's still a way to beat Arkansas too because their safety play is god awful, and so are their linebackers.
It just feels like such a letdown game for Ole Miss because they were pretty darn close. A couple plays go their way, they beat Alabama.
Plus, it's the Fighting Lane Kiffins.
That's why I hate picking Arkansas, but I think people are just underrating Arkansas just a little bit this year. I think they're not that bad, and I've always liked Arkansas. I don't know if it's the colors, the logo, just always kind of liked them, and I like Felipe Franks because he's so bad. He's one of my guys. You know I have those guys that are they're not good at anything, but I love them. And Felipe Franks is one of my guys.
Felipe Franks isn't terrible.
No, but he's not good. He does something dumb every game, it feels like.
Yeah, have you heard his interviews?
He's not the smartest guy. I like Felipe Franks. I don't want to trash Felipe Franks anymore. We're moving on. Game of the week. Number 3, Georgia. Number 2, Bama. Bama is 4.5-point favorites, over under 58. I love Georgia in this one.
I think you're wrong.
You think?
I think you're horrifically wrong.
I think Georgia stuffs Bama. Najee Harris is not going to be able to get going, and that's going to throw Mac Jones off.
All right, then how do you expect Georgia to score?
Did you see Ole Miss put up 3 million points on Bama?
Do you really think Georgia has the quarterback play or running attack capable of what happened with Alabama?
They got torched.
The way here, let me explain. The way you beat Alabama is to tempo the ever-living shit out of them, and that's not Georgia's game.
I don't know. I think Kirby Smart's going to get over the hump this time.
And I think Alabama's actually going to tackle this week, too.
Well, you don't just start tackling. Most teams that aren't good at tackling stay bad at tackling throughout the year.
It's not always true with bigger programs. Now,
historically, Bama teams that have been bad at tackling at the beginning of the year, they make it to like a big game and then they still can't tackle. But the good Bama teams are always good, and I don't think this team has flaws all over. They're talented, but they're very flawed.
Georgia does not have the quarterback play or the run game to stand up and win this game, in my opinion. I also, when you look at their receivers, Kearis Jackson's really all they have. George Pickens has a lot of potential, but he hasn't played well. Stetson Bennett is not a guy that's going to win the game with his arm. And, Zamir White, while he's very talented, has been awful. Awful. Can't run between the tackles. Can't run outside the tackles. He's not making guys miss. He's not forcing missed tackles. Again, going back to Stetson Bennett, he's so unbelievably average. He is Grayson Lambert.
He's a game manager, and I think he does enough to beat Bama.
He has like a 37% completion percentage, and Alabama's going to blitz the living hell out of him, try and make him beat them with his arm, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that, and I think this is going to be the week where you see Alabama's pass rushers start to get home.
I just think Georgia's defense is kind of legit, and
that's going to. I think the defense is. I think it's the best in the SEC by far. Well, maybe not by far in terms of talent. Alabama's secondary is really good. In terms of talent, not having Jordan Battle in the first half is going to be a problem. But Pat Surtain and Josh Jobe are both first-round picks. Pat Surtain's going to be the first corner off the board. Tyson Campbell's really, really good for Georgia. Don't get me wrong there.
I think they're just going to make Mac Jones. They're going to push him to his left, and we'll see if he can get the ball out, especially to the left side of the field. They'll be in. Alabama should crush them then. And even if Mac Jones is able to get the ball to the right side of the field, that means Georgia just defensively their scheme sucked the whole game. Just kind of get a little bit of pressure on Mac Jones. Don't let him just sit back there and find his man, and I think he'll be fine.
Mac Jones has been awesome against pressure, though, in terms of completion percentage. His completion percentage is going up like Joe Burrow's did last year.
This is the first good team putting pressure on him. Those other teams, they're putting pressure, then you're leaving your horrible secondaries open to just get torched.
All right, but this is also the this is the best wide receiver group in the country.
That's why I think you don't even have to put more than sending your 4, maybe 5 guys, and I think Georgia's going to be able to put pressure.
Yeah, and I think then you're going to see Waddle coming across on a crossing pattern.
I don't know. I just really like Georgia in this one.
Georgia's the SEC version of Michigan.
Yeah, except a lot better.
They win more games in the regular season, but they've won one major bowl game, really, in the context of ones that somewhat matter. Besides that Rose Bowl, but they lost the one that did matter.
They won the Rose Bowl recently, and they should have beaten Alabama if they just put them away. They were crushing them.
But they didn't.
Yeah, so
that's why they're Georgia.
Yeah, I know, I get that, but they're still much better than Michigan. I would rather be a Georgia fan.
They're the SEC version of all the hype going in and none of the substance. That team last year was awful. Awful.
I don't know. All right, well, we got our last game. It's probably just going to be a quick one. Boston College versus Virginia Tech, and we both love this upset. We've kind of been on Boston College all year, and I think we have the exact same line. Boston College plus 13, under 63.
They're 2 years away from being like an actual ACC contender, of going to the ACC championship game. Maybe not beating Clemson, but putting themselves in position to. Just depends if Hafley stays that long.
Yeah,
I think he's probably.
You think he will stay there?
I think he'll stay there for 3 years. I think he's probably going to be one of the hotter head coaching candidates coming up. And again, he's a bit of an older style. He's kind of similar to Matt Rule, where he's a defensive guy first. And I expect him to be on a lot of people's radars, even after this year, because he's navigated some pretty tough waters, and he got a team that really should not have been playing close with North Carolina to play close with them. And I think you're starting to see the offense start coming to life a little bit more too. They're getting better. Defense is very solid. Dracovic is getting better. The receivers are getting better. I think Virginia Tech's getting worse.
Well, they're going to start getting healthy too.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they'll be getting better once you get your 4 guys out there.
The thing with these first 4 games is the first 4 games are telling you how well training camp went. Virginia Tech apparently did not have a good camp.
Their camp was COVID.
And it wasn't good.
No, they had like 23 guys out so far this year.
Yeah, and that matters because
you're not practicing, you're not getting reps.
This is close to a talent equated game too, where you have in my opinion, similarly talented teams. I think Virginia Tech had a bad camp, obviously, and I think they will improve over the course of the year, but that improvement's going to take place after this week.
I've just made an adjustment though. I've decided I'm actually not taking BC straight up. As much as I want to take it, I just kind of thought about it. It's in Blacksburg. Virginia Tech. I've lived this whole time. I've just been talking myself into taking Virginia Tech. So now I'm taking Tech straight up. Still going to take BC with the points, but I don't like it as much now. Like before the show started, I was very high on Boston College. Now that we've talked, I'm just more confident about Virginia Tech.
Fair enough.
All right.
At least we're still taking the points and the under.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely the under.
Yeah, because Virginia Tech was able to score a lot last week, but I think that's just UNC's defense stinks.
Yeah.
All right, I got my top 10. This is you just hating on it, judging it because you don't have one. So I got Clemson number 1.
Still no.
What?
Still no.
They showed up. They did exactly what they needed to against a top 10 team last week.
I don't think they played great.
It doesn't matter. They showed up and they crushed them, and they looked dominant.
I don't think they played great still.
And they still won by 20 or 7, whatever it was. A lot.
I also think part of that was Miami playing very poorly and having that game plan. I don't understand where they came up with that. How could you have watched that tape and said, yeah, this stuff's going to work?
They just didn't get the ball downfield either, which they did so well throughout the season.
Nolan Turner is the Andrew Sendejo of that defense. I saw them target him like twice.
It was bad. All right, number 2, I still got Ohio State. I mean, those two have done nothing to change. I still think Ohio State is probably the most talented, but Clemson's played games, so I can't put them number 1 yet.
No, I have the Buckeyes at 1 and Bama at 2 currently.
I got Bama at 3, and then Georgia right behind them at 4. I think winner of this game should technically just go to number 1 without Ohio State playing still, because this is the best win anyone will probably get on their resume this year.
That's fair. Until the SEC title game.
Yeah, like of course. But as of right now at this point of the season, and then probably most of the regular season, it will probably be the best you can get.
Well, look, whoever wins this game is gonna have to win this. Is gonna have to beat the same team twice. Because I don't think Florida's gonna get there with their defense.
No, their defense just keeps getting exposed week after week. They couldn't stream a stopping Mond. Kellen Mond.
And the lack of run game is still not good.
All right, number 5, Notre Dame. Just had to put them there. I hate it. There's nowhere else to put them. They keep winning. Like I don't think they're good. But Penn State hasn't played a game yet, so I'm gonna leave them behind them. And I've had them behind them, so now I can't just say Penn State hasn't played a game and their best defensive players out, so I should put them above Notre Dame.
Can we put North Carolina in front of Notre Dame instead, just for?
I almost did.
Just for our mental health. Carolina is bad. But this is a top 10 that's not going to even really be seen.
I can't. North Carolina's bad. North Carolina's worse than Notre Dame.
I think North Carolina would play Notre Dame very close and maybe even win.
I don't think they win. I think they play them well, don't win. That's why I have
depends on where the game is played, in my opinion.
I think from 5 down, I don't like any of the teams right now. I want to see.
I wouldn't argue either way with how those ones are ordered.
And then 8's Oklahoma State simply because they're undefeated and they're in the Big 12.
Again, by virtue of Power 5 undefeated.
Number 9's my favorite Group of 5 team. That's BYU. I think they've got the best chance of being the Group of 5 team in the New Year's Eve bowls. So I like them at number 9, and Florida at 10 still. Their offense is still pretty darn good, and I have them behind in front of A&M, despite them winning. I think Florida plays them again. They crush them. And I think Florida, this is kind of the wake-up game. That was the wake-up game for Florida. I think they closed the season out pretty strong.
I consider Florida's offense okay, not necessarily good.
Kyle Pitts is so much fun, though.
He is, but they have no outside receivers or a run game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was supposed to be Trayvon Grimes, but he can't get open.
Yeah.
He doesn't get open. How are you supposed to be a number one receiver? He can't get open. You know, Kadarius Toney's really, really good, though.
Do you know what's surprising, though, about Kyle Pitts? How wide open he is a lot of the time.
It's because he runs very, very good routes. Because he's a freak athlete.
And yeah, and he makes some insane catches that are contested, but a lot of times he's just sitting there. There's not a guy within 5 feet of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome. He has got
part of that scheme. Part of that's elite route running.
You have him in your Heisman talk, Pitts?
No.
Just because
that's mostly because I think, you know, I'm gonna use the phrase September Heisman, even though it's not September, but it's basically. But I'm not a big believer in those, and I don't think that he's going to be dominant enough to be up there. But because, let's face it, for a tight end to win it, he needs 2,000 yards.
Yeah, basically.
And you know, 300 yards and 5 touchdowns against Alabama.
That would put him in the conversation then.
That would.
You'd have.
That would definitely help him. I would say this. You know, Fields, Lawrence, I think Najee Harris can be included in there. I think Mac Jones can also be included in there just based off pure numbers for now.
Mm-hmm. I think it's honestly the best teams have the best players right now.
Yeah. Again, this season's a 3-horse race.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let me just sorry. You go.
It's 3 stallions, and then there's going to be that one horse with like cancer in his hoof that's trying to labor along.
And that's the horse I probably would have bet on too. But like, oh, I like that name.
Well, you know, that's going to be, you know, your Georgia, your Notre Dame, your Penn State, your Oklahoma State.
Good luck's out.
Yeah, and it'll be like Washington making it in 2016 where they had no business being there.
Yeah.
But you had no choice but to put them in there.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been Utah last year if they had beaten Oregon.
Definitely. All right, so we got to close out the top 10. I got my teams on the cusp. Cincinnati, they just keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon hasn't played, but I think they'll be in the top 10.
Yeah.
A&M, big win over Florida last week. Looked bad against Alabama. Don't know.
I still say no.
Yeah, I don't know if that's more about Florida or Alabama being good or bad. You know what I mean? Wisconsin. Who's the QB that's starting for him this year?
Cone still.
No, it's not. It's not Jackie Heisman. It's Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz.
Graham Mertz. They made him the starter.
Or Cone might be hurt, but Graham Mertz is getting the first team reps. Looks good.
Or does Cone have the Kofefe?
I love Jackie Heisman. I'm a big Jackie Heisman supporter, and
he's Joel Stave.
They only have Joel Stave.
It's only Joel Stave.
I've never seen
not Joel Stave.
Every white quarterback that will play at Wisconsin until I die will be Joel Stave.
Yeah, they're not Bo Callahan.
No. Hey, Bo didn't get invited to the birthdays, so
well,
it was no good.
Yeah, no one went to Bo's birthday party. I can assure you Jackie Heisman had a full birthday party.
Oh, Jackie Heisman, you don't get the nickname Jackie Heisman while being one of the worst quarterbacks in the Big Ten without being a fun guy.
Yeah, and plus it's Madison.
Yeah, that's fair too. And then last but not least, I almost put him number 1, Kent. I mean, they're just a dominant program. Should go undefeated this year. Haven't played yet. So I can't put them any higher because they haven't played yet. But once they start rattling off wins, they'll quickly move up my top 10.
I'm hanging up.
Oh, that's all. If Joe thinks not, that's all we had to talk about anyways. So again, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. rate 5 stars on Apple or whatever you watch this on. So thanks again for watching. See you guys next week. Go Buckeyes.
Tell people to start watching too.
Will do. See you guys.